Rock and roll. Here we are. We are on the Scorched Earth podcast. Welcome back, my friends. It's different seeing me with the mouse ears. You know, it just, I love the Disney thing. Actually, I am going to watch Snow White. I am going to go see Snow White. I had a request from one of our great listeners, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's not something typically I would watch. I'm more of the guy. I don't like horror or slasher movies, and I'm not the big musical fan, but I gotta tell you, Wicked was just amazing. It really was. The cast was great. The music was fantastic. And like I've said before, when I saw La La Land with my folks, I literally walked out after the opening scene. I was like, oh man, Ryan Gosling. You know, I don't understand. We have these actors who are so talented. How can they also sing? Like, how does Bradley Cooper sing so well in A Star is Born? I mean, really, it's professional quality, right? I'm not saying he's Lady Gaga, but my gosh, he was incredible. And Ryan Gosling, you know, and Emma Stone. I mean, they're singing like professional singers. Like, I got to think this is all tricks or something because they just can't be that good at two different things. I mean, singing isn't easy. We've all seen Carl Lewis butcher the national anthem. You know, he was a great track star, but boy, he couldn't sing a lick, right? It's like two cats inside a barrel just screaming at each other, right? God, he was terrible. You know what? Maybe tomorrow night I'll cue that up because it is just bloody spectacular. I don't even know how you even get to that. So let's talk about my day. Like I said, welcome. I'm your host, John. If you could, first off, hit the like and subscribe button. It means a lot to us. Comments, we always appreciate them. We like to know what you're thinking, maybe what kind of stories you'd like me to talk about. And I know you're not going to believe this. I'm going to have a little rant today. So I went to the doctor today to have a procedure. And it's, you know how they always tell you, get there a half hour early or whatever. I mean, like my mom, she gets there an hour early. And so I get there for a 9:00 appointment today. And now they open the office at 8:00. Okay? 8:00, 1 hour. Like, how many patients can they have? Now, I've got this procedure, and they said it's going to take like 2 hours, right? 2 to 4 hours. They always give you this big window. And so I'm there. 9:00 comes. I get there at 8:25. And you're just waiting, and you're kind of hoping they're going to take you early, but you know that's really never. It's like winning the lottery. It's just not going to happen, right? So I'm waiting and waiting. 9:00 comes and goes. 9:15 comes and goes, and then 9:30, 9:45, and then of course you know you get up there and go, hey, did I miss something? You're hoping you're being passive aggressive, like I'm pissed. But like, why haven't you called me yet? And they're like, oh, no, you're next. Everybody is next who walks up to the window, right? So at 10 o'clock, they finally get me in there. Okay. Now, how can it be an hour late when they've only been open for an hour? I mean, really, how does that work? Jesus Christ. I mean, really, how does that effing work? I'm an hour into the day. I mean, it'd be like going on an airplane and they got a 7 o'clock flight and it's an hour late. Like, who runs a business like that? You know? Well, That's the medical establishment, right? So then I get in there, and the procedure's only like 30 minutes, and I need a ride, and it's just a cluster F. It is just a bondugal on a bondugal, right? They tell you 2 to 4 hours, and I guess the only reason they do that is because if the effing would have killed me, they could have got the lawyers in there to clean up all the evidence of their homicide, their genocide on me before my family found out. I guess. I don't know. I mean, they do these procedures every day, and they say 2 to 4 hours, and really it was only 30 minutes. Like, why are you making that window so big? It's like me coming over to your house and saying, hey, I can fix this in 2 hours. I can fix this in 2 to 3 days, and literally 30, it's the plumber. Oh, it's going to be an all-day job, lady. It's going to be an all-day job. And literally they come in, and 25 minutes later, they're heading out the door. I'm like, what the hell is that, right? Same thing. They know how long stuff's going to take. I mean, they do understand the human body, I guess, right? I'm going to tell you a story. Tell you we go deep here. All the stuff in the world, I'm telling you medical stories. Christ's sakes. So I worked at Kaiser, before I became the best podcaster in the world, okay? Hey, you need to start telling your friends I'm the best podcaster. My mom says I am, even though she's never heard me. And I'm going to tell you a story. I worked at Kaiser, and I was a union carpenter, and I was all over the place, right? And I worked in the MRI department, fixing stuff, remodels, new construction. Something would break, I'd go in there and fix it, magic hands. And they were open from 5 a.m. to midnight. They had 4 MRI bays. Each bay had its own technician. And then they had a supervisor for all 4 bays. Okay, so there's 5 people in there. I would get in there at 8 o'clock at night, and literally for 4 hours, there wouldn't be one patient. Not one. Not one. Okay. Let's think about what that means, okay? Well, John, everybody scheduled their appointments for the morning. All right. Okay, maybe that's true. But then, and I never really put this together, obviously my low IQ is an impediment to me discovering this, is a friend of the show. I call him Brother Bill. I've talked about him a lot. I'll call him Believer Bill because he's always the optimist, okay? And Believer Bill he had to get an MRI on his back. He had some back issues. And it was the same Kaiser. And they wouldn't give him an appointment for 2 months. 2 months. And I'm like, I know that they don't have any MRIs going for literally 4 hours at the end of every night. Now, there's an occasion when somebody comes into emergency and they need an MRI. They wheel them over, they put them in the tube, and then they go out. But I'm telling you, it was like a bunch of high school kids. All they were in the MRI department was on their phones all night. Literally, that was it. Okay? So Bill said, yeah, they're not going to give me one for 2 months. And then it clicked in me. That's what HMOs do, is I don't care what they say, they're not going to ever admit this, but I saw the truth, is at a hospital, they're going to say, you know what? I don't care if we need to give 1,000 MRIs. We're only going to get 100 a day. That's it. That's the cap. And maybe some people will go away, and maybe some people will whatever. I'm not going to say pass away, but maybe they'll pass away. And at the end of the day, they just stretch it out and stretch it out. I mean, have you ever wondered why it's so hard to get a medical procedure? You got to talk to your doctor, and then you got to get it co-signed by a specialist. They're trying to string you out. And, when they talk about why we can't have national health care, well, the service isn't as good. Yeah, right. When you got to wait 2, 3, 4 months for an MRI, yeah, that's really doing you a lot of good when you need it. You know, it's not like people wake up in the morning and go, oh, my back aches. I hope I can get an MRI. Christ's sake, man. That's not going down. You literally got to jump through rings of fire to get some of these medical procedures, and then they still make you wait. And then I go for the medical procedure today, and Jesus Christ, how can I have to wait? I mean, my appointment was an hour after they opened up, and then I had to wait an hour. How does that work? Like, I mean, let's call it what it is. What, was the doctor out on a 3-day bender and he came in at 9:30, 9:45? I don't know. But there ain't a lot else that makes a hell of a lot of sense. It's like, how can they be an hour late when my appointment is at 9 o'clock? You know, and make no mistake, you might as well be held hostage by Hamas to have more rights than you do when you get into the waiting room at a hospital. Because once you get in there, man, you are a captive. You might as well be the jaguar at the LA Zoo. You're just going to be pacing, you're going to sit in the chair, and you're going to wait till that nurse or that intern or whatever finally calls your name. Oh, XY, hey, John, come on in. Oh, my God, thank God. And then the apology tour starts. Oh, you wouldn't believe it. We're busy. We had some issues. I mean, my God, I've been behind the walls. I know it's all bull. It's all total BS. I mean, really, these people are so trained, they are helping us heal our bodies. The millions of things that go on in our body. But somehow they can't figure out how the appointment system works. It's like, you know, just throw a couple sorries in there and don't worry about it, because at the end of the day, we're the HMO, F you, kiss my ass, head down the street. What are you going to do? Oh, sorry, this is the only place you can go. You know? It's just stupid on bloody stupid. All right. Locked and loaded. I got my dander duff up. All right, we're taking no prisoners and we're telling no lies. I'm telling you, that pisses me off. And you know, I take my mom all the time, and she gets the same thing for her cancer treatments. Same thing. You know? Now my mom, she's really the goody two-shoes, okay? When they say a half hour early, she thinks that really means 45 minutes. So I'm sitting there with her and my dad, and then you wait 45 minutes, and then, of course, they're never on time, even if you're the first appointment of the day, because then the real excuses start. Oh, we're trying to locate your medicine. Oh, the doctor's with the emergency patient. Oh, my God. I'm telling you. They got more excuses than the guys from The Hangover when they come back from Vegas after the weekend. Oh, yeah, well, I don't know what happened to the car. Oh, geez, somebody must have hit him. Whoa, I didn't see that dent. Oh, I don't know how I got this hickey on my neck. Christ's sake, man. What the hell are we dealing with here? All right. Let's get me up and running. Let's talk about the Department of Defense and how just wonderful they are under the new administration. Seems like we're going to get rid of DEI. Diversity, equality. We're going to get rid of it. Don't need it. Everything is right. You know, I know most people in this podcast probably weren't around for it. I think they understand it pretty well. When John F. Kennedy died, tragically, in Dallas, Lyndon Johnson took over the mantle of presidency, and he made a decision to honor Kennedy by pushing through a lot of his initiatives. Now, Kennedy had a lot of problems getting things through because he was considered a northeastern elite. And the Democratic Party at the time was basically in the South. Literally, the map was almost 100% different. The South was all blue, and the West and the Midwest and all those things were red. New York, California had Republican governors. I mean, as outlandish as that is. And the South was all Democrat, everything. Jimmy Carter came from the South, right? So he instituted, and I honestly think Lyndon Johnson is truly one of the most underrated presidents who ever lived. He really transformed this country. Medicare, Medicaid, he empowered black voting rights, women's rights, a lot of things. We're not going to go, this isn't going to be the Lyndon Johnson podcast, but he allowed black people, especially in the South, where there was very restrictive Jim Crow type of legislation that prevented them from voting. He used the federal government, the DOJ, to allow them the same opportunities that white people had to vote. And there was still a lot of restrictions. There was still a lot of hate. The Klan was still existing in the South. There was just a lot of hate against African Americans. I mean, we're talking about a time, now try and get your head around this, where they couldn't sit in the front of the bus. They couldn't use certain drinking fountains. They couldn't go to restaurants because they were considered white-only restaurants. They couldn't go to hotels because those were white hotels. I mean, segregation was a real thing in the 60s. It was. And Lyndon Johnson made a lot of leaps forward in his 4.5 years as president. And in the 1968 elections, the Democrats were running for president, and so were the Republicans. And the Democrats were still on this, we are going to bring equality to the nation. And the Republicans' response was, literally, we've done enough. Look at where we've come in 5 years. We've done enough. That literally was the mantra of Richard Nixon. We've done enough. We don't want him to feel entitled. Like, wow. Holy crap. Well, let's fast forward to 2025, and now we got the Defense Department. We cannot acknowledge our history. You know, what do they say? If you don't acknowledge history, you're bound to repeat it. Well, maybe they want to repeat it. Maybe that's really what's going down here. So on the Department of Defense website, we got articles about the Holocaust, September 11th, cancer awareness, sexual assault, suicide prevention are among the tens of thousands of documents that have been purged from Pentagon websites, all to comply with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and his order to scrub diversity content from all of its platforms. Okay, there you go, right? Now, yesterday, they scrubbed an article on the Defense Department website about Jackie Robinson. Now, for anybody who doesn't know who Jackie Robinson was, he was the person who broke the color barrier in baseball. Baseball at the time was, by and large, the biggest sport in America. The NBA didn't exist. Football didn't exist for the most part. And it was a white-run sport. And, you know, there was all the stereotypes about, you know, they couldn't play, they weren't smart enough, you know, all these just inanely stupid things. And he went in and he dealt with an incredible amount of discrimination. He dealt with it. Baseball has basically a tier system. They have minor leagues. They have A, AA, AAA. And typically what happens is as you get better, you rise through it. Well, you know, he was on buses in the South. He dealt with a lot of discrimination. He dealt with a lot of hate, Klan, things like that. And they finally made it to the major leagues with the Brooklyn Dodgers, and Branch Rickey, the innovative and pioneering GM for the Brooklyn Dodgers, said, yeah, we could put him on the field. And literally his interview with Jackie Robinson, when he was trying to make an internal decision to bring him up to the big league club, is he yelled at him racial epithets for literally 15 minutes to see how Jackie would respond, because he knew the crowd wasn't going to take it well, even in a modern city like Brooklyn, right? So Jackie, his story is, I mean, obviously he's an American hero, but when he was in the Army, let's talk about when they scrubbed the website yesterday. I'm getting ahead of myself here. They took down everything, any reference to him. And before the story on Robinson's service was restored, the URL had redirected everybody to the added letters DEI in front of his sports story. All right, so now he was a DEI guy, right? Now, what did Jackie do in the Army? Jackie was drafted into the military service in 1942, like all men were over the age of 18 in America, black or white. It's funny. You know, the people, the powers that be, didn't want to give them equality in terms of voting, being able to ride on the bus, use drinking fountains, using hotels, but they sure had no problem drafting them. You know, we don't have to give them civil rights, but man, we're going to draft them because they can get shot just like a white guy, straight up, right? So he joined the military in 1942. He joined the 761st Tank Battalion. And then he was court-martialed. This is something they really don't talk about. Obviously, Pig Hegseth doesn't want to talk about it. He was court-martialed in July 1944 when he refused an order to go to the back of the bus by his commander. All right. You know, I can get shot at. I can serve my country, but you're telling me I can't ride with everybody else on the bus. And this is before Eisenhower, a Republican, allowed integration to happen into the Army and the armed services. And at that time, they had separate barracks. Not just separate dining halls, but they had separate barracks. The blacks and whites were not allowed to be in the same place. So he was court-martialed for this offense in July 1944. And then he was acquitted by a military tribunal, and then coached Army athletics teams, finally getting an honorable discharge in November of 1944. Yeah. So that's something that Pig Hegseth wanted to get off there, right? Well, the backlash was so extensive in that one day, they put it back up. Okay? So at the end of the day, and I know I say that all the time, I gotta work on that one. Our voice does matter. You know, a lot of us say, and I listen to podcasts and they're like, oh man, it's just not going to go anywhere. You know what? Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Because these mother effers, they do listen. They do listen. I'm going to tell you something, and I don't know how much you consume of media. Sure you do if you're listening to this podcast. But you know what's really changed from Trump 1.0 to Trump 2.0? Yeah, I know. You could say, well, you know, he figured out his mistakes the first time, like any president, even Joe Biden. You really don't know what you're in for. You know, you're trying to find your way. It takes you probably a year or two to figure it out. Well, he did. You know, he figured it out by the end, then he lost, then he had 4 years to recalibrate, right? Okay, he's a smart guy. He's got smart people around him. They figured out their agenda. They figured out how to win an election. You know, kudos to him, right? But the thing that I have noticed, and I have not seen anybody on social media at all talk about this, is they have daily press briefings. If you remember the first time, they would literally go weeks and months without a press briefing. And what they figured out, and this is very smart of them, you need to control the narrative. You need to control the narrative, and they are doing a really good job. Now, Carolyn Levitt is an idiot, but she's out there every day for an hour or two answering the questions. She's trying to control the narrative. And I got to say, kudos to him. They learned from their mistakes of the first time. That's why they restored the Jackie Robinson story, because they got the heat. They understood the heat. They didn't give up. Protests do matter. And this is what idiot goddamn Chuck Schumer doesn't realize. We do matter. Our voice does matter. We don't have to capitulate. We don't have to give up. We don't have to acquiesce. That is what a democracy is all about. Damn you, Chuck Schumer, and damn you again. I'm telling you, I feel like Charlton Heston at the end of Planet of the Apes. Damn you to hell, Chuck Schumer. Damn you to hell. I hope AOC primaries that mother effer. I'm telling you, right? Now, let's get on to what's going on in. And you know what? Let's cue it up a little here. We got some modern technology. Hey, look at how cute that little poster is. Stacy, our super producer Stacy, got that for us, and God bless her. It looks so cute. We've been talking about it, but let's talk about what these Republicans are facing right now with the town halls.
Country facing anger and outrage.
Getting sound. Uh-oh. I don't know what happened. Uh-oh. Stop. Okay. Well, I don't know what happened. It's the second time that's happened to me today. All right. Hey, bear with me, kids. Bear with me. I don't know what the heck happened there. I wonder why. I don't know. All right. Well, we're not going to go to it. That's just what it is. So we're seeing all the Republican outrage at their town halls, and the Republicans have shut down the town halls, and I don't blame them. They don't want to catch the heat. I did also have a story on the Tesla vandalism that's going on because of the anger at Elon Musk. You know, Teslas are getting flamed up. Trump has called it domestic terrorism, which is really kind of cute. Okay? You want to sit there and say burning an electrical charging station or a Tesla or maybe throwing a Molotov cocktail at a factory is domestic terrorism, but you had no problem pardoning 1,600 people who were criminally convicted in the January 6th riots. Wow. That wasn't domestic terrorism. What was that? A little party at McDonald's? We all heading to Disneyland afterwards? You know, those 1,600 people who assaulted cops, over 170 cops injured, the ones who were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," yeah, going really, really well. I don't know. It's just what it is. All right. If you could, though, that'll be the podcast for today. Love you all. And if you could, hit that like and subscribe button. And like we always say, don't be sad because it's coming to an end. I'm thankful. I love you all. I'm thankful we're in this together. And we are going to win. Just believe. It's darkest before the dawn. And be happy because we'll be back here tomorrow. All right. Peace out, and I'll see you soon.